Hello, it's Alex. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Friday Sews. It is the 31st of March, which is Sew Frugal 23 reveal day. So I'm going to show you what I actually made for that challenge. And I've also made the Gertie Society dress that I talked about making recently. So I've got that to show you as well. So to start with, let's talk Sew Frugal 23. There will be a link in the description box with the video where I went through the sewing patterns that I was thinking of using. Obviously they are all free sewing patterns and readily available to anybody. And I also talked, I think the following week, about my attempt to make the Denim Maxi skirt, which is largely based on the free pattern from Spoonflower, which I think is called the Dogwood Denim skirt, Dogwood Denim being what they call their denim fabric. And just a little recap, I got my imperial and my metric measurements wrong. I know my measurements off by heart in metric, and I thought that I was smaller than I really am in imperial. That pattern only gives imperial measurements. And I cut it out and I made it, and I spent ages making it all lovely until I came to put it on and I could barely pull it up. I mean, just about ish. So on this channel, I suggested that the only solution there was to unpick the seams and try and steal as much seam allowance as possible and restitch it. Given that I'd actually trimmed away quite a lot of the seam allowances anyway, so it was going to be touch and go whether I could actually get the thing on. And so many of you gave me the get out clause and said, don't bother unpicking it, life is too short, you know, move on, give it to somebody else, forget it. Ordinarily, I would go with that advice. I am a very lazy sewer, and ordinarily I would just see that as permission. Permission granted, put it to one side, forget about it. But it didn't really seem like that was in the spirit of Sew Frugal 23. If the idea is that we're using free patterns and fabric we already have in our stash, it seemed wrong to just more or less chuck something or reject it, and I thought that I ought to try my best to see if I could actually make it into a skirt I could fit in. So sure enough, I did unpick. I didn't unpick the side seams, but I did unpick the centre back seam, and as I say, I had trimmed some of it away, so I re-sewed it, and I guess if you measure down the centre back, it's going to be slightly wider on one side than the other, but you know, I don't know that you can really see that. And the other thing that I found was that if I hoiked the skirt up and made it high-waisted, I could actually get into it a little bit easier, because where it was tight was across here, across my thighs. And I have made it, it is the same skirt. It is tight, there is no shadow of a doubt. I am definitely doing a bit of a slinky number to try and get into it. Had I have unpicked the zip and put a longer zip in, it would definitely have made things a lot easier, but you know, you do a fly front zip and all the faffing around with that. I just didn't want to have to redo that. I wasn't that ambitious. Anyway, I can get into it, so I'm really pleased. Look, if I show you, when I insert the pictures, I'll show you side on, you'll see just how tight it is. I have got, probably only I noticed this, but the shape of my hip and thigh is different on the left to the right. Yeah, I'm definitely not symmetrical, that's the word. And I can really see that in this skirt because it's that tight. However, I really like it, and it feels really, really comfortable to wear, even though it is pretty tight. I did have to put some darts in the back because when I hiked it up a little bit higher, it meant that the waist was too baggy. I had thought, and I think I said in the video when I talked about the pattern, that it had darts at the back, but actually it didn't. So I put my own darts in the back just to get rid of that excess at the waist, and they kind of disappear into the back pockets, and that works really well. So as tight as it is, I really am enjoying wearing it, and I have, yeah, I'll insert some pictures, it's going to be much clearer. I have made it much longer. Some of the maxi skirts that I've seen, you know, online and in some of the shops are really, really maxi, you know, right down, sort of grazing the ground, and I haven't gone that long, but I like this length, and I haven't made the split too high. Again, some of the sort of fashiony pictures you'll see, the splits are sort of almost up here, and I don't want to do that, it's not particularly comfortable for me. But yes, so I would definitely recommend this pattern. Obviously I added length to get it to maxi. It's really nice. As I said when I was doing my sort of work in progress update, I wouldn't do what they tell you to do, which is to overlock all the seams first and then sew them together and then press them open. Forget that. I would definitely overlock my seams together and press them onto one side and then top stitch, so you get a real kind of jeans denim look. I think the other thing I added was some belt loops, and I did put some bar tacks on the pockets here because the fabric was wanting to out, and that's because it's so, that's a technical term, that's because it's so tight. I'm really pleased that I did actually take the time to unpick it and make it, because you know, sometimes when something's a bit small for you, lots of us have done that thing, haven't we, where we've bought something or made something and you keep it in your cupboard thinking, you know, one day I'll fit into it, I'll lose that little extra bit of weight, and actually I just think that's pretty soul destroying. It's not good for your confidence to do that, so I'm glad that I unpicked it and made it a bit bigger. So that's my top. No, it's not, it's my skirt, but this is my top. I showed you the other week that I'd made the Lago top from Itch to Stitch. Originally I made it in the correct size by my measurements, which I think from memory was a size 8, and it was way too big. I made a size down to a size 6 in a stripy cotton stretch fabric that I had left over, and that fitted much better, but I'd shortened it too much. And then I had enough of this off-white Ponte to make a second one in the correct size. So it's now a size 6. It's it's almost like the opposite now. It's a tiny bit tight under the arms here, but I kind of almost prefer that than if it was bagging out as it was before. And lengthwise, I've got it tucked in, but lengthwise I just added, I think 3 centimetres, and it's just a little bit more of a versatile length. Really nice pattern. I really rate it. I really do rate it, but I think sizing down is definitely the way to go, because lots of you said in the comments that you'd made it and found it too big, and other people had said the same thing on Instagram. So go down one size and you're probably going to be in a better situation. The other thing that I showed you on that video was that I was considering either making a bomber jacket or a shirt. I think they were both mood patterns. I'll put the pictures up anyway. I haven't had the time. I've been incredibly busy. I haven't had an awful lot of free time actually in the last 2 or 3 weeks, because and it's why I wasn't here last week. My mother-in-law is moving from her bungalow on the other side of Manchester, and she's moving into a retirement apartment 5 minutes walk from us, in the same village as us. She's actually not moving until Tuesday, hopefully. I'm literally here with my computer over there with half an eye out looking for an email from the solicitors. But yeah, we're not actually doing the move till Tuesday, but it's because, please forgive me for this, but I used to be an estate agent, and I promise you I was a very nice one. Needless to say, it's made sense that I was the person that dealt with everything, and it's just taken up a lot of time. So I haven't managed to make as many things as I would like to do, and I certainly didn't manage to make either the bomber or the shirt. But I am going to. I really want to make that mood bomber jacket, but it's not going to be within the remit of the Sew Frugal 23 challenge, because I didn't really have any fabric that was quite what I was looking for, and I have gone and bought some. So, you know, I would get my wrist slapped by Sam and Ruan if I attempted to enter this, because it's not following the rules. But I did spot this at my local fabric store, Leon's up the road in Chorlton. It's a poly wool mix. It's like a Melton, really. It's nice and soft, and obviously it's this sort of beigey colour. I think that a bomber jacket in that to see me through spring will work really well, because this is a UK spring, and you know, it can be very unreliable, the weather in this country. So that's my plan. Now, a couple of people spotted that the collar on that mood bomber jacket, where they have the ribbing around the collar, the way they've resolved that doesn't look fantastic, and I had spotted that too. I am planning to use ribbing around the collar in the normal way with a bomber jacket, but I'm not going to, whatever their instructions are, I'm going to ignore them, and I'm going to follow the instructions that Merchant and Mills have for their parka coat that I've made before, which I found to be very easy. In fact, what I'm going to do is just quickly go grab that, and then I can show you what I mean. Okay, ignore the chipped nail varnish, please. Yeah, so this, you just insert the ribbing, and then it kind of goes down to the corner here, your centre front corner, rather than the mood pattern, which had the ribbing going all the way and squaring off. And in this case, I didn't do the lined version of this, and it just is sandwiched into that facing. So it's pretty straightforward. That's the look that I'm going to go for, rather than the way that the mood one is shown. I think it's a lot neater and certainly pretty easy to do. So I managed to find a really good match colour-wise for the ribbing. I mean, look at that. Just online via Amazon. I am sorry about my squeaky floorboards. I tried to put something on top of the floorboards today to see if it lessened the squeak, and it didn't. Apparently David says the only way to deal with it is to nail the floorboards down. So when we've got a moment, we'll do that. Anyway, so it's a company, I think they're called Neo Trims. They sell a lot of this ribbing and cuffing on Amazon, lots of different colours. So you can just order straightforward ribbing. I've got a little sort of set. So I've got the ribbing and then 2 matching cuffs. Already kind of tubular, so I don't have to worry about seams or anything like that. And yeah, they're already there. So I will link to that below, but I was really pleased with the match of the colours for that. I just need to find a zip now that will also match. But as I say, haven't had the time, and it's certainly not going to count as an entry. If you have joined in the challenge, don't forget to post a photograph of your entry over on Instagram, because Sam and Ruan have managed to get a huge number of prizes, and you know, if you don't enter, no chance of winning. But yeah, it's a really good fun one to do, and just keep an eye out for the hashtag over the next couple of days, because lots of people will be sharing things they've made, and it's really nice to have a look and see and support each other, and yeah, get some inspiration. And as I said, the other thing that I've sewn recently is the Society dress from Gertie. It's one of her Patreon only patterns. Basically with her Patreon, she probably won't thank me for telling you this, but if you sign up to her Patreon, there are different tiers of membership, as there often are with Patreon type subscriptions. But when you sign up, you actually get access to all the previous sewing patterns that she's released, and you can access the whole catalogue and download them, and you have them forever. So I had a Patreon subscription last year, and around about Christmas time, or no, I think a while ago, I cancelled it because I found I wasn't really using the patterns. And then when this one was released, I restarted my Patreon subscription, and then same thing again. I thought, no, the rest of the patterns aren't really me, so I then cancelled it. The only downside to that is that she issues a sew along video and with every pattern that she releases, and once you've cancelled your Patreon subscription, you don't have access to that any longer, but you do have the written descriptions. So yeah, I personally think that I will do the same thing and sort of pick and choose. So if she releases a pattern one month that I particularly love, then I will subscribe just for that month and then cancel again. I love, love, love vintage sewing patterns. I really do. But I kind of don't know that I'd ever wear them myself. I don't see where they fit in my lifestyle. So I've had to kind of be sensible with myself and say, look, you know, don't get too carried away. So that's sort of happened with this one. I think I mentioned that when I saw it, when it first came out, I didn't cave in straight away. It took me a little while. I was looking for an excuse because I knew it was a dress that was very, you know, it's very dressy and pretty kind of glamorous if you see some of the images. And I was really thinking, when would I ever wear that? But because I've got this sewing meetup coming up in a couple of weeks now, I thought that would be a good excuse, because when else can you wear something a bit OTT than when you're meeting up with other sewists? However, I'm not going to be wearing it. This is one of the Minerva Exclusive Prints. It is gifted fabric. I'm not under any obligation to talk about it here, but I'll be doing a blog post which should be live any minute now. And it's a knit, so it definitely needs a fabric that's got a lot of stretch in it, and this worked brilliantly. I love the colours in this. I'll put it on, I'll show you. I like it, don't get me wrong, I really, really like it. But as I said earlier, I don't know when I'd ever wear it, and I don't like it enough for it to be the dress that I'm going to wear in a couple of weeks' time. I still don't know what I'm going to wear in a couple of weeks' time, and the way that my next couple of weeks are planning out, I don't think I'm going to have any time to sew anything, so I'll have to see what I've already got. Anyway, okay, so here it is. I will of course insert some much better images that you can see. There are lots of things I love about it. I don't think I have worn a jersey knit dress in a long time. I've made a couple of dresses that are kind of out of sweater knit, and they are so comfy to wear in the winter. But I don't think I've made anything out of a jersey knit, and it is so comfortable. Really, I don't know, just given I think it looks quite smart and dressy, but feels super, super comfy and relaxing to wear. So I really like that about it. And I like the shape very much. It's quite tight, or fitted, I suppose. It's not tight, but it's, you know, around this midriff piece here. They do recommend that you include some power mesh on that section, and I did have some power mesh, so I did do that. I don't know that I necessarily would have gone out and bought some specially, but I had some anyway. And obviously, yeah, it is a little fitted around here, but I like the shape very much. I went for the option, which is what I said I was going to do. So there are two lengths of skirt, and one is a full, you know, floor length skirt with godays. And I wanted, and the other is, they call it a knee length, but it's kind of below the knee, which doesn't have the godays. And that's what I went with, and I just lengthened it. So I didn't want the full swish of the godays in there, but I did want it to be longer. And for me, I really like the length on it. I really like the shape of it. It's, you know, lots of things I like about it. This is the option with the bishop sleeve, which I have seen some people make even fuller, which I think looks really fabulous. And the other option, I'm fairly sure, is a short sleeve, but I really, really like how it looks. The fabric was great. just about the right amount of stretch, and as I said, really nice and comfy to wear. I did find a couple of things that were tricky, and a couple of things that I found a bit confusing with the instructions. One is that you've got this very definite V under the bust here, and inside this V-neck, so you've got gathers across here, the shoulder sits actually slightly forward here, which I hadn't really clocked that, and it took me a bit of hunting and a bit of looking at images of other people's makes to realise that it wasn't just me. I wasn't sure whether I was just ill-fitted or as it should be. Anyway, it's as it should be. So you've got the gathers there and then the V-neck. So inside is a facing that runs round that V-neck and then goes down to the bottom of this bodice section and joins up with this midriff at the peak here. And I found that that just meant that that triangle there, that peak, was way too much bulk there, because you've got the bodice fabric and the fabric for the facing. And I ended up having to unpick it and trim away the facing fabric, and it's a little bit more successful. It's not as absolutely perfect as I would like it to be, but I think it's fine. I also had a look and noticed that quite a few people who have made it and have published reviews or posted pictures on Instagram have said the same thing, that they've had to trim the facing away. So if you're thinking of making it, I would do the same thing. But in general, the one thing I will say about Gertie patterns is that their sizing is really, really good. Really nice inclusive size range, and they have quite a range of cup sizes and lots of information about which cup size to opt for and all the rest of it. But the bit that I think was a bit odd about the instructions, maybe it's just me, but for example with the bishop sleeve, so this is obviously gathered around there and then goes into the cuff. The suggestion was that you do a large 2 rows of running stitch and gather it in like you would with a woven fabric, and then you attached it to one edge of the cuff, turn the cuff over, turn inside a seam allowance, basically exactly as you would with a woven fabric. And I could not understand why you would bother doing all of that, because surely the advantage of having a stretch fabric like this is that you can pin your sleeve that's got the excess fabric to the cuff and then stretch the cuff to meet it, meaning that your gathers would be nice and even, and then you just need to overlock it and job done. A lot simpler, a lot quicker, and that's what I did. I don't know why it was done in that way. Anyway, other than that, it's fine. You may remember that one of the things I particularly love about this pattern when I saw it is that it had this cowl hood at the back, and I really wanted to make it with the cowl hood, and I knew that that was a bit odd considering I wasn't making a floor length glamorous version like lots of people have made, but I thought I'll make it, and if it looks odd I'll take it out, and it did look odd and I did take it out, so I don't have that at the back. But I got it wrong. I made a bit of a mistake with it. I took a little bit of footage with my phone when I did that, so I'll insert that to show you, because if you do want to make it and you do want to insert that cowl, don't make the mistake I did. So that is the back. Okay, so couple of things. I'm going to take this off, which I've probably already told you, but just in case you're interested, clearly this is hanging down longer here and this is hanging shorter here. So I think I've obviously put it on the wrong way around, so this edge here, the long one, should have been at that end and that end should have been at that end. In which case it would hang in a much better way. So this would be a longer edge and that would be the shorter edge. But I found the cowl again, maybe this is me, maybe I just don't pay attention enough to the line drawings and the images. I thought it was a hood, and so therefore I thought it was fully attached to the neckline here at the back, but actually it's not. It just drapes across the back, and obviously it can be pulled up hood-like, but it is just a piece of fabric that drapes across. I don't know, I found that kind of added to the, it looks a bit odd to me, but I don't know. Anyway, I took it off. So much as I love it, I don't really know how I would wear this. I think I would probably end up wearing it just milling around at home because it feels so comfortable and so nice, and I can kid myself that I'm a glamorous person who wears glamorous dresses at home, because I don't. I don't really know what shoes or boots I'd wear with it. Yeah, it's one of those, you know, sometimes us sewists do that, don't we? We fall in love with a pattern, or we fall in love with a fabric, and you have an idea in your head and you think that's going to make a beautiful dress, and sure enough it does make a beautiful dress, but does it make a beautiful dress that you're actually going to wear, that actually fits with what I do in my life? It's sort of taught me a lesson because it's made me think a little bit, and has made me really look at my wardrobe and think, right, I do need to make sure that I don't get carried away and make things that I'm not going to wear, because we've got a change in season, haven't we? It's feeling a lot more spring-like. Once I've got this move out of the way, I'm going to do the big switch. I'm going to take all my spring and summer clothes out of the basement, bring them upstairs and swap them with the big heavy winter jumpers, and have a look at what I might need. But I've got loads of ideas. I've bought a lot of fabric recently, which I'm not going to show you today, and nearly all of it is prints. And I've got, so many ideas of things that I want to make. So I'm having to sort of just try to kind of like, okay, let's be a bit more practical about this. What are you actually going to wear? So unfortunately for me, I am full of ideas and not full of time. I think the coming week is going to be very busy. I've also got all 3 kids coming home for Easter. So I doubt very much that there'll be a video from me next Friday. I doubt very much that I'm going to have any time to sew, and isn't that typical when I've got lots of ideas and lots of things I want to make. So I suspect it'll be a couple of weeks before I'm back. Hope you all have a fantastic Easter. Don't forget to follow that hashtag SewFrugal23. You will be inundated with ideas of things you can make with free sewing patterns. And if you have made something, don't forget to put a picture up on Instagram, because you might win a prize. Okay, everyone, thank you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.